The first thing he heard was her voice, shaking, breathless, and dripping with fear. "Please don't let them take me." Jard didn't know who she was. He didn't know why she was hiding behind his broken barn, clutching a glowing shard of something far too futuristic for a guy who still duct-taped his fridge shut. But he knew one thing. No creature, human, alien, or otherwise, should sound that terrified. The night air trembled with the sound of engines, sharp and metallic, buzzing like angry hornets overhead. Jard's heartbeat punched against his ribs. He'd seen strange lights in the sky before, sure. He lived in the kind of rural nowhere that bred more conspiracy theories than corn. But he never expected one of those lights to crash down into his backyard. And he definitely didn't expect a princess to crawl out. She looked nothing like the weird green aliens from old sci-fi movies. Her skin shimmered a soft gold under the moonlight, her hair floating as if underwater, each strand glowing with faint starlight. Her eyes, huge, bright, and full of sorrow, met his. She whispered again, "Please help me." Jard blinked. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that." He sounded like a man agreeing to water his neighbor's plants, not hide a panicked extraterrestrial girl from whatever space goon squad was hunting her. But then she grabbed his hand, and the warmth that rushed through him, gentle, soft, like sunlight touching skin after a cold night, silenced every doubt, every fear, every logical thought he had left. Suddenly, he knew helping her wasn't optional. It was absolute. Minutes later, they were crammed inside his barn's old storm cellar. The air smelled like dust, old hay, and the faint sweetness of her hair, strange stars and wild flowers. He risked a glance at her. She was trembling. "What's your name?" he whispered. She hesitated, then answered. Her voice held that soft, bell-like tone, like she was singing each word even when she whispered. Jard repeated, "I'm Jard, and you're safe here, I think." She let out a tiny breath as if she'd been holding it for hours. "Thank you, Jard. Those hunters, they want my crown. If they take it, they control my people. They will make them kneel." Jard stared, crown like actual royalty. She nodded, her golden eyes shimmering. "I am heir to the throne, but I had to, my heart." She placed a trembling hand on her chest. "It doesn't want to rule through fear. My father died protecting kindness. I must do the same." Jard swallowed hard. This was officially above his pay grade. Way above, like space royalty running from cosmic tyrants above. "Why come to Earth?" he asked. Managed a tiny smile. "Because humans, they still fight for what they love, even when everything is hopeless." He almost choked. "You came here because you watched one motivational YouTube video, didn't you?" Blinked, several, "Your species is very dramatic." Despite the chaos above them, Jard cracked a laugh, quiet but real. It echoed strangely in the cellar. And then the barn shook. Froze, her eyes glowing brighter. "They're close." Jard felt his blood chill. The hunters, whoever they were, weren't playing around. Boots stomped above. Metallic voices muttered in a strange language that sounded like shards of broken glass. Grabbed Jard's arm, her fear now sharp as lightning. "If they find me, run. Do not fight. Do not die for me." "Not planning on dying," he whispered, "pretty attached to living." But something inside him, something deep, stubborn, and painfully human, knew he would fight if he had to. Not for her crown, not for her title, but because she looked at him like he mattered. Suddenly, silence. Then a heavy thud above the cellar door. A shadow moved. A hiss of steel. Fingers intertwined with his. "Jard," she whispered, voice cracking, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For bringing danger to your gentle world." He squeezed her hand. "Trust me, my world stopped being gentle a long time ago." The cellar door ripped open. Moonlight flooded in. A figure loomed, tall, armored, eyes burning red like molten metal. Gasped, shrinking back. Jard stepped in front of her without thinking. His voice shook, but he stood tall anyway. "Hey, leave her alone." The hunter tilted its head, confused, almost amused. His breath caught. Because in that single brave, stupid moment, a human stood between a princess and a monster. And history shifted. Jard's heart pounded like a war drum, his hands trembling but refusing to let go of. The hunter froze for a split second, its red eyes locking on him. Then, with a growl that sounded like metal scraping bone, it lunged. "Run," Jard shouted, grabbing. She didn't argue, not even a second. Her small hand dug into his, and together they bolted out of the cellar and into the night. The barn exploded behind them, metallic screeches, sparks, a flash of light. But somehow they made it past the hay bales and into the wide, open fields beyond. The corn swayed eerily under the moonlight, whispering like it knew something terrible was chasing them. Jard's lungs burned. He didn't care, he couldn't. Every step was a promise, he wouldn't let them take her. "Jard, they are fast," panted, her glowing hair whipping around her face like golden fire. "I'm fast too," he shouted back, almost tripping over a hidden root. "Kind of maybe, hopefully." She couldn't help but let out a small laugh, the sound ringing like tiny chimes in the night. And for a moment, just a moment, the terror behind her eyes softened. But the hunters were relentless. The air around them shimmered as if reality itself was bending, and suddenly one of them emerged ahead, blocking their path. Metallic armor reflected the moonlight, red eyes burning with a cruel intelligence. Jard froze. He could feel trembling beside him, but then she whispered, so soft he barely heard it, "Trust yourself, Jard. You have more courage than you know." That made him snort. Courage, him? He was the guy who spent last Friday arguing with a squirrel over a stolen sandwich. But when he looked at her, glowing, fragile, and somehow unyielding, he felt something stir deep in his chest. Something that screamed, "I will protect her. Even if I fail, I will not step back." So he stepped forward. The hunter tilted its head, scanning him. Jard's legs shook, but he remembered the stories his grandma used to tell him, about impossible odds and heroes rising when nobody expected them. And somehow, the next thing he did surprised even him. He threw a piece of hay at the hunter's eyes. It actually worked. The creature hissed, momentarily blinded, and that was all the opening they needed. Jard grabbed hand and sprinted, hearts hammering, legs screaming, through the endless sea of corn. Somehow they reached the edge of the fields where the forest began. Trees towered like dark sentinels, branches scraping their arms, leaves catching in his hair. She laughed, more freely this time, but it was laced with panic. "They're still following us," she yelled. Jard didn't answer. He was too busy thinking. He had to find a place to hide. Somewhere they couldn't reach, somewhere she could breathe. Suddenly she stopped, eyes widening. "Here," she whispered, pointing to a small pond hidden behind thick underbrush. The water shimmered under the moonlight, reflecting her glowing face. "We can hide here. They cannot see through water like humans." Jard raised an eyebrow. "I've never heard that before, but okay, trust you." They slipped into the pond, water cold but strangely comforting. Pressed against him, shivering, not from the cold but from fear. And Jard, stupidly, brushed her wet hair from her face, feeling a warmth that went straight to his chest. "You're crazy," he muttered. "You know that, right?" She smiled faintly, eyes glimmering. "I've been told, more importantly, you're alive, that's what counts." They waited. The sounds of the hunters grew fainter, then vanished entirely. Silence enveloped them, broken only by their ragged breaths and the soft ripple of water. "Jard," whispered, her voice trembling, "I don't know how to repay you. You risked everything for me." He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I didn't do it for that. I don't know why, honestly. Maybe because I can't not do it." She studied him for a long moment, her golden eyes softening. "Humans are braver than I thought." "Yeah," he said, trying to sound casual. "Or maybe I'm just really stubborn." Laughed quietly, leaning closer. "No, it's more than that." He didn't respond. He just let the moment hang there, fragile as the stars above. And in that silence a bond was born, not from titles, not from crowns, but from trust, fear, and the simplest, most human act, protection. Above them the night sky stretched vast and endless, stars flickering like tiny promises. And even though danger still lurked, Jard knew one thing. He would fight until the last star went out before he let them take her. because she wasn't just a princess. She was, and somehow in this strange, impossible night, she had already captured his heart. And that, he realized, was more terrifying than an. The pond was quiet now, but Jard's mind raced faster than his heart. Every shadow in the trees seemed like another hunter waiting to strike. Sat close to him, water dripping from her hair, glowing faintly like a living star. "Jard," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "I need to tell you something." He froze, her gaze, soft and serious, pinned him in place. "Okay, shoot." "I'm not just running because I want to be free," she said, shivering slightly. "If they catch me, my people, they will suffer. They will be forced to obey a tyrant. And I am the only one who can stop that." Jard swallowed. He wanted to nod, to say some heroic line like, "We'll fight together." But all he could manage was, "Wow, that's a lot." She smiled faintly, humor barely touching her fear. "Yes, and now you're part of it too, whether you like it or not." He looked at her glowing eyes, golden and infinite, and realized he didn't care. He was in this, all of it, even if it meant facing monsters from the stars. The forest around them rustled, shadows moving in ways that made his stomach twist. "We need a plan," he muttered, though the words felt useless. "We can't just sit in a pond forever." His lips curved with a wry smile. "No, but we can use what we have. Earth may be small to them, but it's tricky. There are places they cannot follow easily. We hide, we gather allies, we fight smart, not strong." Jard frowned. "Allies? You mean normal humans?" She laughed softly, a sound that made him ache in a strange, new way. "Yes, humans, your species surprises even me. You fight for love, hope, even when hopeless. That is powerful." He tried to imagine himself as someone who could help her save a planet. Mostly, he imagined himself tripping over his own feet. But when he looked at her, golden hair sticking to her wet face, something inside him stiffened with determination. "Then let's do it," he said. "I don't know how, I don't know what to do, but I know this, I won't leave you, not now, not ever." His eyes glistened. She reached out and touched his cheek gently. "Jard, humans are fragile, yet you surprise me. You are brave, not because you are fearless, but because you choose to care anyway." Jard felt a heat rise to his face. He opened his mouth, tried to make a joke, but the words died. Instead, he nodded, silently promising her he would not fail. Night deepened around them. The hunters would not give up, and soon they would return, relentless as the cold stars above. But in this fragile moment, sitting in a quiet, hidden pond, something stronger grew between them, a bond that didn't need words. They moved out just before dawn, slipping quietly through the trees. His knowledge of strange tactics and his human stubbornness made them a surprisingly effective team. They avoided roads, tracked the hunters' paths, and even, somehow, managed to sneak past a small drone scout that buzzed overhead like an angry mosquito. During a brief rest in the hollow of an old oak tree, finally laughed properly. "You humans, you survive by luck and chaos." Jard grinned. "I call it talent." "Perhaps," she replied, eyes sparkling, "or madness." He bumped her shoulder. "Madness with a purpose." She laughed again, the sound carrying through the trees, light and fragile. But then her smile faltered, eyes turning serious. "Jard, if they catch me, I could be lost forever, and I don't know if I could forgive myself if that happens." He shook his head fiercely. "Don't even say that. You're not going to be lost, not while I'm breathing." Her hand brushed against his again, warm and insistent. For a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them, hiding in the shadows, hearts beating in sync. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed, twigs snapping under weighty boots. The hunters had found their trail. His eyes widened. "They are close, too close." Jard pulled her behind a thick tree. "Okay, we fight smart, we hide, then we escape, somehow." She nodded, "And maybe," her voice softened, almost shy, "we can trust that not all humans are small and weak. You are different." He smiled, heart-pounding. "I'll take that as a compliment, I think." The hunters moved past them, unaware of the pair pressed against the bark, holding their breath, hearts hammering like war drums in the quiet forest. When the last of the shadows faded, whispered, "We survived tonight, but we cannot survive like this forever." Jard met her glowing eyes. "Then we fight together, always together." Her golden hair brushed his arm as they moved, silent but closer than ever. In that moment, through fear and uncertainty, they found a fragile kind of hope. A hope that maybe, just maybe, love could shine brighter than any crown, even one made of starlight. The forest was quiet again, but the weight of the night pressed down on Jard, and every rustle of leaves, every crack of a twig reminded them of the hunters still searching, relentless, patient, and deadly. Wiped water from her glowing hair and looked at him, her golden eyes serious. "Jard, we cannot keep running forever." He nodded, rubbing his sore legs. "Yeah, I figured that out around, 30 minutes after we left the pond." He tried to smile, but it was weak. "We need a plan, something smart, something that keeps you safe and maybe, just maybe, gives us a chance to fight back." Studied him for a long moment. "You are human, but you think like a leader. I am impressed." Jard snorted. "I'm impressed too. I didn't think a girl glowing like a fallen star would run into my backyard and make my life this complicated." She smiled faintly, the tension in her shoulders easing for a moment. "Complicated, yes, but necessary." They moved deeper into the forest, away from open fields, seeking cover among ancient trees and rocky ridges. Finally, they found a small cave, hidden behind hanging vines. It smelled like damp earth and secrets, but it was safe, at least for now. Sitting on the cold stone, leaned close. "Jard, I need to tell you everything, about my crown, my people, and the danger." He nodded, listening intently. "Go on." She took a deep breath. "The crown is not just a symbol, it is a source of power. Whoever holds it can influence minds, bend wills, control fleets. My father protected it. My people relied on him. Now they need me. But I cannot rule through fear, not like the hunters want." Jard swallowed. "Wow, okay, that's heavy, but if it's that powerful, we have a chance to fight back, right?" She shook her head. "Not alone. The hunters, they are advanced beyond your understanding. They have weapons, ships, even drones that can track thoughts. I cannot fight them directly. We need strategy. We need allies. We need Earth's humans, people who fight for what they love, people who do not give up." Jard's chest tightened. He looked at her glowing, fragile, yet undeniably fierce. "Then we find them. I know people, friends. They will help. And me, I'm not giving up, not on you." Her eyes softened, glimmering with emotion. "Jard, humans are strange, fragile, yet brave. I never thought anyone would risk everything for me. Yet here you are." He laughed nervously. "Well, I didn't exactly volunteer. But when I saw you, I couldn't just leave you to die. You'd be gone, and I'd never forgive myself." She reached out and brushed his wet hair back. "You are more than I expected. You are brave, stubborn, kind, and somehow I trust you." Jard felt heat rise to his cheeks. "Trust me, that's heavy responsibility." She smiled faintly, leaning closer. "Perhaps, but also comforting, someone to stand beside me, someone to fight with me." They sat in silence, the night wrapping them like a protective cloak. Fear still lingered, but in the quiet, a plan began to form. "We need to move," whispered. "First, we gather allies, we find humans who will fight for justice, for hope. Then we use misdirection. We split them up, confuse them. We use Earth's chaos to our advantage." Jard nodded. "Sounds dangerous, but doable. And maybe we can set traps, use technology, whatever we can get our hands on." She smiled faintly, the first real hope breaking through her fear. "Yes, and you, Jard, will be by my side. If humans can surprise the universe with courage, you are the perfect example." He felt a lump in his throat. "You really think I can help?" "More than you know," she whispered. "You have heart that is worth more than fleets of ships, weapons, or even crowns." He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Their fingers intertwined, warm and reassuring, a promise stronger than any words. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Somewhere far above, stars blinked like watchful eyes. And for the first time since the hunt began, they allowed themselves a small spark of hope. Leaned her head on his shoulder. "Jard, no matter what happens, I am grateful. You saved me, and maybe you have saved more than just me." He swallowed hard. "Guess we better not mess it up, huh?" "No," she said softly, her voice firm despite the fear. "We cannot." Together in that hidden cave under the starlit sky, two hearts, one human, one alien, planned a rebellion. one that would defy hunters, galaxies, and fate itself. And in that fragile alliance, something more began to grow, something neither of them expected. Love, fierce and unshakable, glowing as brightly as the crown she carried. Jarred and moved cautiously through the forest, hearts still hammering from the previous night's chase. Each step was careful, calculated, yet every rustle of leaves made them flinch. The hunters had not given up, they were relentless. But now they had a plan, a fragile, daring plan that relied on humans. Eyes glimmered under the pale morning light. Jarred, if we are to survive, we must find allies, people who fight not for crowns or wealth, but for hope. He raised an eyebrow. People like our neighbors, or like your average barista with a laser gun. She smiled faintly, a glow of amusement in her tired expression. Perhaps both. Earth has unexpected heroes, you will see. By mid-morning, they reached the edge of a small town, watched cautiously from behind a cluster of trees. We must be careful, she whispered. Hunters can blend among humans, we cannot trust easily. Jarred sighed. Trust, that's usually my strong suit or weak suit, depends on the day. They moved silently, sticking to shadows. Eventually, they reached Jarred's friend, Liam, who was tinkering with a drone in his backyard. He looked up, bewildered. Jarred, wait, why are you soaking wet? And who's that? Stepped forward, hands raised in calm. I need help. Your world, your courage, may be the only way to save mine. Liam blinked. I usually help with drones, not alien princesses, but okay. Jarred rolled his eyes. It's okay, we're all screwed anyway if we don't do something. After explaining the situation briefly, his golden gaze fell on Liam. You fight for what is right, that is what I need, not strength, but heart. Liam grinned. Heart, that I've got, and okay, I trust you, kinda. With Liam joining them, they began small, setting traps, mapping routes, watching for hunters. Each night, they moved stealthily, light guiding them through the darkness, Jarred cracking nervous jokes to hide fear, Liam engineering simple devices to confuse or slow the hunters. One night, as they rested by a hill overlooking the town lights, whispered softly, Jarred, you risk everything for me. Every time I see it, I wonder why. Why would a human do this? He shrugged, staring at the horizon. Because you matter, not the crown, not the galaxy, not even your glowing hair. You matter, and I don't walk away from that. She reached for his hand, squeezing gently. You are strange, yet brave, and maybe you are exactly what I need. Jarred's face warmed, and he gave her a lopsided smile. I'm your hot mess of human bravery, works every time. Her laugh, soft, musical, broke the tension. For a moment, the world shrank to just them, hidden under the stars, two hearts beating in dangerous synchrony. But danger was never far. The hunters had learned, adapting, sending more scouts, more drones, more merciless trackers. One night, while they slept under the cover of an abandoned barn, a sharp metallic hiss woke them. Red eyes glowed through the broken windows. Hunters, whispered, fear and resolve mingling. Jarred pulled Liam up. Time to test our traps, buddy. The hunters stormed the barn, but the traps worked, wires, nets, blinding lights. They slowed the enemy, buying precious minutes. Light pulsed, sending signals that disoriented them further. When the last hunter retreated, Jarred sank to the floor, chest heaving, knelt beside him. You risked yourself, again. He shook his head, exhausted but determined. Yeah, but I'd do it 100 more times. You matter that much. Her golden eyes softened. And you matter to me. The words hung between them, fragile yet powerful. The bond that began in fear and desperation was now growing into something deeper, trust, courage, and a strange kind of love neither expected. Above them, stars glittered, silent witnesses to the promise Jarred had made. The battle for crown for her people and for their survival had only begun. But now they were not alone. Allies, hope, and love were on their side. Jarred squeezed her hand. We survived together all the way, no matter what. Rested her head on his shoulder, letting a single tear fall into the dust. Together, she whispered, always together. And in that quiet, tense night, amidst hunters and fear, two hearts burned brighter than any crown, brave, stubborn, and unyielding against the darkness that threatened everything they loved. The night was alive with tension. Hunters had grown smarter, faster, relentless as shadows that refused to vanish. Its golden glow cut through the darkness as she led Jard and Liam to a hidden warehouse on the outskirts of the town. It would be their headquarters, their refuge, and their trap. "We can't fight them directly," whispered, voice tense but resolute. "Not yet, but we can use misdirection, Earth's unpredictability. It is our weapon." Jard wiped sweat from his forehead. "Unpredictability, huh? That's my middle name." She shot him a tired smile. "I've noticed." Inside the warehouse, the three of them worked feverishly. Liam rigged devices to detect incoming drones. Jard learned quickly to follow instructions, moving with her like a shadow, carrying supplies, watching for ambushes. Slight guided their steps, pulsing softly with urgency, her own fear masked by determination. During a brief pause, sat on a crate, exhausted. "Jard, you've risked everything for me, and yet you still laugh, still joke, still protect me as if it were simple." He shrugged, sitting beside her. "I don't know how to be heroic, princess, but I do know how to not let people I care about get hurt." She looked at him, golden eyes shimmering. "Care, it is powerful. You have reminded me even now that courage is not just about armies or crowns. It is about heart. Yours, it shines brighter than my own light sometimes." Jard felt a heat rise to his face. "Wow, thanks, I think." She laughed softly, a sound that was a balm against the tension. "Yes, thanks. You remind me humans are not just fragile creatures. You are extraordinary." For a moment the warehouse felt safe, intimate, but danger was never far. Hours later the hunters struck. Drones whirred, lights flashed through broken windows. Metallic voices hissed commands in an alien tongue. His hand shot out, guiding them. "We split, distract them, lead them away." Jard grabbed her hand. "Not a chance, we stick together." Her golden glow flared brighter, shielding them as they sprinted through the warehouse. Sparks flew from electrical devices Liam had rigged, confusing the intruders. Every step, every heartbeat was a gamble. Every glance it reminded Jard why he couldn't back down. Not for glory, not for recognition, but for the girl who had become his entire world. They escaped into the surrounding forest, pursued but not yet caught. Whispered urgently, "Jard, we cannot hold them off forever. We need to make them underestimate us, lure them into thinking we are weak." He nodded, heart pounding. Then they're about to learn humans are stubborn as hell. In a quiet moment behind a rock formation, leaned against him, trembling. I am scared," she admitted softly. Jard pulled her close. "I know, so am I, but we're in this together. You're not alone." Her golden eyes met his, full of emotion. "Jard, I don't know what would happen if I lost you. Not just my crown, not just my freedom, but you." He felt his chest tighten. "You won't, I won't let it happen. We fight and we survive, together." Her fingers brushed his cheek. "Together," she whispered, voice trembling yet firm. The hunters regrouped, their metallic voices echoing through the forest. Jarred and moved silently, Liam scouting ahead. They set traps, used the terrain, and lured the hunters into confusion. Every close call deepened the bond between them. The trust, the unspoken promise, the quiet understanding that they were not just fighting for survival, but for each other. Hours bled into dawn. The last of the hunters retreated temporarily, confused and frustrated by the human ingenuity they could not anticipate. Light dimmed as exhaustion her, but she pressed close to Jard. "You've saved me more than once," she whispered. "And somehow in the midst of danger I have learned what hope feels like again." He smiled faintly, holding her hand. "You've given me hope too, more than I ever expected. I don't care about crowns or galaxies. I care about you. That's enough for me to fight for." His eyes glistened, a tear escaping despite her effort to stay strong. "Then we will fight, not just for my crown, not just for my people, but for us." Jard pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Always for us, no matter what." The sun began to rise, casting pale light through the trees. The battle was far from over. The hunters would return, stronger and more determined. But for that fragile golden moment, hope burned brighter than any star, any crown. And in that hope, love, real, human, unshakable, anchored them both. Together they prepared for the next wave, hearts linked, courage unwavering, ready to face the fire before the crown. The battlefield was quiet. For a moment, it seemed the world itself was holding its breath. The hunters had regrouped for one final strike, but Jard and their small team of human allies were ready. Every trap, every plan, every ounce of courage had led to this moment. Stood at the center of a clearing, her golden light radiating like the first dawn. The crown, small yet brilliant, hovered above her hand, glowing as if alive. Her people's fate and the balance of an entire star system rested in that moment. Jard stood beside her, hand intertwined with hers. "You ready for this?" he whispered. Her eyes met his, fierce and gentle all at once. "With you beside me, yes, I am ready." The hunters appeared like shadows materializing from the forest, metallic voices hissing, red eyes fixed on their prize, but did not flinch. Instead, she lifted the crown higher, letting her light blaze brighter than it ever had before. "Humans," she said, voice ringing across the clearing, "and any who fight with us, we will not be ruled by fear. We will fight with hope, courage, and heart. Stand with me." Jard squeezed her hand. "Always." The hunters attacked, but this time the humans were ready. Liam's devices sent blinding pulses of light, disorienting their enemies. Traps ensnared the hunters' legs, wires tangled their movement. And light was unstoppable. It pulsed and spread, not just illuminating the forest, but inspiring courage in every human heart that stood beside her. Jard fought not just with fists, but with determination, using every trick and improvised weapon he could think of. But his eyes never left because she was more than the mission. She was the reason he fought. Every time a hunter lunged toward her, he intercepted, blocking, holding, shielding. Through the chaos, his voice rang out again. "We fight together, not for power, but for love, for hope." Her light intensified, and for the first time Jard saw it, not just a crown, but a reflection of her heart. Brilliant, pure, unyielding. And in that light the hunters faltered. They had never faced something like this, something unbreakable, something human and alien, combined in courage and determination. Its golden glow expanded, enveloping the clearing. Jard, standing beside her, felt warmth and strength coursing through him, as if her courage had become his. Together they pushed forward, every human ally emboldened, every hunter overwhelmed. Finally, with one blinding surge of light, the hunters were forced to retreat, defeated, confused, and unable to comprehend the bond between these two beings. A human and a princess fighting not for dominance, but for each other. The clearing fell silent. The sun began to rise, golden light mingling with its glow. She lowered the crown, letting it settle onto her head. The brilliance of it wasn't just in its design, it was in her. It reflected every ounce of courage, compassion, and love she had shown, and the unbreakable bond she and Jard had forged. Jard stepped forward, exhausted, battered, yet smiling. "You did it," he said softly. "You saved your people, and you're amazing." Turned to him, her golden eyes glistening. "We did it, together, and I could not have done this without you, Jard." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Yeah, well, I didn't exactly have a choice. Once you crawled into my barn screaming, 'Save me,' my life became your problem." She laughed softly, leaning closer. "And I am glad it did. You reminded me that courage is not about fighting alone, it is about trust and love." Jard swallowed, feeling the words hit him like a revelation. "Love, I guess I did get a bit attached." Her smile widened, radiant and warm. "A little more than a bit, I think." The humans around them cheered, not just for victory, but for the heroism they had witnessed. But in that moment the world narrowed to just two figures, golden and shining with the crown that reflected her heart, and Jard, human, flawed, and perfect in his bravery. Took his hands in hers. "Jard, promise me no matter what happens, we will face the future together, side by side." He squeezed her hands back, voice firm. "I promise, always." And in that promise, stronger than any weapon or crown, the galaxy seemed to sigh in relief. Had claimed her throne, but more than that, she had found a heart that matched her own. And Jard, he had found something even rarer than victory, a love that shone brighter than stars, brighter than any crown. Together they stood in the sunrise, hearts entwined, light reflecting off her crown and into their future. and for the first time, both knew the universe was vast, dangerous, and wild. But nothing, not even the stars themselves, could outshine what they had found in each other. Her crown shone as bright as her heart, and that heart now beat fully and fiercely with his.